So it could be a very interesting start to the F4 Southeast Asia Championships. Second race of the weekend. The championship, of course, certified by FIA as normal. And there goes the pole sitter, Wang Xiongwei of China, who lines up in the first row of the grid alongside Inigo Anton of the Philippines. Then it's going to be the Australian Seth Gilmore, who lines up third on the grid alongside Alex Sawyer in P4. Then it'll be the Chinese driver Cheng Meng, along with Ben Nguyen in sixth position. Then Rishon Rajiv, the Indian for Black Arts Racing, in seventh on the grid from Thomas Yu Lee in his patchwork, his dual livery, I should say, Evans GP car, teal on one side, orange on the other. And then Josh Berry in the Black Arts Racing, the man who had a rather unfortunate incident in yesterday's first race when he spun the car through turn 3 and ended up going off onto the gravel trap. So the drivers are currently out on the circuit running their reconnaissance lap over to the starting grid. They will obviously be on the South Paddock starting grid to form up, but when the race actually starts, they'll come over to the Formula One starting grid, which is obviously in its usual position here on the Petronas Sepang International Circuit. So it's going to be an interesting challenge for all of our contenders, that is for sure. But the drivers know exactly what to expect from this circuit now, having been out on the course yesterday for the first of our races. It's going to be very differing conditions compared to yesterday. We had a little bit of rain at the start of yesterday's race, but now, of course, they've got no rain to contend with, but what they do have to contend with is a little bit of oil out on the circuit from the previous two sessions, and there's going to be a few thrills and spills to contend with as the drivers are getting themselves ready in position for a little bit more drama out on the course. Scrub tyres are ready then in the pits. Those are slick tyres that have had a little bit of wear in them. That's the difference between a shiny new set and a scrub set. The mechanics are now formed up on the dummy grid, which is, of course, on the South Paddock side of the Sepang International Circuit. You can see there, now look at the line that you've got down there on the race circuit, that white line. That is oil dust that's basically been put down to try and get rid of the patch of oil that a beautiful Porsche left on the previous race on the calendar, unfortunately, this weekend. So it was a very nice Asia Classic Car Challenge race of 10 laps. But unfortunately, on about lap 4, one of the Porsches went pop and put an awful lot of oil down there on the circuit. So the drivers have got to be careful of that in the first couple of laps. We could have some interesting moments out on the course. So it's going to be interesting to see how the drivers will cope at Sepang here this weekend in Malaysia, just outside the capital city of Kuala Lumpur. The race circuit that, of course, held Formula One Grand Prix from 1999 all the way through to 2017. As drivers are now going through the South Paddock pit lane to go and do a second lap. You can either choose to do one lap or two. And everybody is, of course, naturally on slick tyres because there's not any rain to wet the circuit. Interesting compared to yesterday, because obviously all the drivers except for one, Josh Berry, went out on the circuit initially on wet tyres because there had been a fairly hefty rain shower just a few minutes before the reconnaissance laps. Well, this time the drivers are desperately trying to make sure they can do 2 laps, because if they can do 2 laps, then obviously they'll get a little bit more of the surface on the run down towards turn 9 sorted out from that oil that went down, because there's currently some oil between turns 8 and 9. Although the marshals have put some cement dust down to try and ease the problem of that oil. It's not going to be perfect on the run down, and we saw certainly during the sports car race a short while ago quite a few drivers really pushing the limit. Now you're seeing a couple of cars there moving over to the side, and that is because they want to do a practice start. They're allowed to do that on the reconnaissance laps, provided they move across out of the pit lane itself and wait for a clear run. So Thomas Yu Lee choosing to do the same thing, and that gives Inigo Anton his chance to do a practice start. They're allowed to do so, provided that they wait at that point. So a couple of the drivers choosing to do so. Inigo Anton, Ben Nguyen of the Black Arts Racing team, and also Josh Berry wanting to do a practice start, as of course did the last man in the queue, and that was Thomas Yu Lee of the Evans GP squad, who I think also took the decision to, or maybe I'm wrong, maybe it was the number 7 after all of Josh Berry who brought up in position behind them. But certainly the competitors that we've got here for the 2025 F4 Southeast Asia Championship at Sepang in Malaysia, gearing up for the second race of the weekend. This is the reverse grid race, 25 minutes plus the additional lap. And of course the pole sitter, Wang Xiongwei of the Origin Motorsport team. This is a great chance for them in their second race of the season. This is the team that only has one driver on the grid for this first round of the championship. Hopefully a couple more drivers will join them. They're certainly having a very jovial time waiting for their man to take up residency on pole position. The 10-minute board goes up on the starting line. That means that the pit lane is now closed, which means that the drivers will have to make their way to the starting grid. You can see in the middle of your picture there, Alex Yoong, the ex-Formula One driver who raced for Minardi in between 2001 and 2002. So interesting to see all of the competitors getting themselves geared up and ready for an exciting showcase. But the Southeast Asian variant of Formula 4, for a lot of these drivers, this is a new experience. I was talking to Alex Sawyer, who won the first race yesterday. He's been racing in F4 China and in F4 India as well prior to that. And the competitors had not actually driven a Tartus F421 before this particular point. A lot of them had been used to the Megale chassis. So this is the Tartus F4 T421 racing car with its Abarth engine and its GT tyres. So we're getting ourselves geared up for the F4 Southeast Asia Championship, which takes in 3 circuits over the course of the season, over 5 weekends. We visit the Sepang circuit here in Malaysia 3 times over the course of the year. We've got a race at the Chang International Circuit at Budaram in Thailand, which hosted the first round of this year's MotoGP World Championship, as well as the season preview over in Bangkok. And we've also got an incredible race weekend, which will take place on the first weekend of July, which is at the Bang Saen Grand Prix. If you don't know what the Bang Saen Grand Prix is, I urge you to go and YouTube it. It is one of the most, weirdly kept secrets in world motorsport. It's a fantastic street race, very similar to that of Monaco or Macau, or the old Pau Grand Prix that we used to have it on the streets of France, just near the Spanish border. But it is a fantastic race circuit and a wonderful event. So for the F4 Southeast Asia Championship to be on the bill, it also raises the profile a little bit of the Bang Saen Grand Prix, which is great news for that event, and it's been fantastic over the last decade or so. A very different idea on the Thai holiday resort. So that's going to be an interesting one for round 3 of the championship on the first weekend of July. So Wang Xiongwei has made his way to pole position, reverse grid pole because he finished 4th in yesterday's first race of the season. Inigo Anton, the rookie driver, lines up 2nd on the grid this time for the Black Arts Racing team. He had good pace compared to the Evans GP pair in the first race of the season, so he might have a chance to take the lead early doors in this one. He certainly had the pace over Wang Xiongwei in yesterday's race, but racing is very different to grid positions. He's there chatting with Alex Yoong, the mastermind of the Black Arts Racing team, getting a lot of coaching from the former Formula One driver. And let's be fair, Inigo Anton is showing a massive amount of talent very early on in his career. The young man from Philippines, from Baguio City, which is one of the coldest places in the entirety of the country of Philippines. But what an amazing journey young Inigo Anton has had so far, working his way through the esports world, through karting, through a couple of GT disciplines as well. But now here he is in F4 Southeast Asia, and this is certainly the biggest opportunity he's ever had to put on a show. And on his very first race of this season, he took a podium place as well as the rookie victory. So big opportunity there for the young man from the Philippines. Following in the wheel tracks are the likes of Yovi Marcello, Marlon Stockinger, Bianca Bustamante, some great racing drivers before him who have raising the flag for the Philippines on the world stage. And it's great to see Inigo Anton continue that trend. Third on the grid is going to be the Australian driver Seth Gilmore, who took his best ever result in a single-seater racing car in yesterday's first race. He's had plenty of third places, but he never had a second place before yesterday. Now he's got his eyes on the prize. He wants his first win in the championship. Now you're wondering, why is there a brolly over the top of Seth Gilmore's halo? Well, it's not because it's raining, it's because it's hot. It's very humid here at Sepang as well, and they're trying desperately to keep cool in these situations, even though the sun is not particularly bright over the circuit. It's very hot and very humid, and you've got to try and keep these cockpits as cool as humanly possible, as it's definitely accelerating in terms of temperature. There's the number 12, 4th position on the starting grid for Sawyer Hoang Dat, also known as Alex Sawyer, the young man from Vietnam, who has had a very interesting career so far, worked his way up from the world of karting, won a race in F4 India in 2023, won a race in F4 China in 2024, several in fact, and of course winning the Chinese Grand Prix F1 support race in Formula 4, so very exciting to see people putting on an exciting show. There's the man starting 5th on the grid, Cheng Meng, the Chinese driver for Evans GP, has had plenty of experience in GTs and roofed cars in the past, has had a little bit of single-seater experience prior to this, but a very different car to drive, the F4. So he's getting used to the Tartars pretty quickly and certainly putting on a reasonably good show to start off his single-seater season. Alongside him on the grid, another new face to the world of motorsport, certainly his very first weekend in car racing. Last week he was at the LYL International Circuit in Malaysia, about an hour away from here in IAME X30, in the senior X30 competition of the IAME Series Asia. Now Ben Nguyen, the Vietnamese driver, is in cars, and what a fantastic job he did yesterday. Acquitted himself very well for the Black Arts Racing team. P6 on his car racing debut, and looking for even more than that in his second appearance in the weekend. Very good work indeed from young Ben Nguyen. 7th on the grid, Rishon Rajiv, the Black Arts Racing driver for India. He would have been disappointed with that result yesterday. Was running in 4th position until the greasy and slippery conditions through turn 3 caught him out in exactly the same way it caught out Josh Berry on the opening green flag lap. But Rishon Rajiv, a man who has won races in F4 India and in the Indian Racing League, notably. So a very talented young driver is Rishon Rajiv, got plenty of experience in his homeland, but now this is a big opportunity for him to step out into the international world of racing cars and really showcase his ability. So excited to see what he can do with the opportunity as the mechanics are bringing the tyres off the circuit. There is Thomas Yuli. Now you get an opportunity to see this fantastic livery that Thomas Yuli is running. It's orange on one side and pale blue on the other, and he also has arguably the best helmet design in the grid. It looks very cool and very tropical, and Thomas Yuli, the American, has got plenty of excitement to come here to the Southeast Asian Peninsula once again. He's raised, obviously, and heritage is in this part of the world, but the American driver doing a fantastic job of getting himself back into the world of single-seaters, back over here. And 9th on the grid is going to be the man who unfortunately spun into the gravel in yesterday's race, Josh Berry. So Josh Berry obviously wants to keep his eye on the prize as the mechanics are trying to sort out the wing mirrors to make sure that the Singaporean is going to be okay this time. Just a little bit of adjustment needed for Josh Berry. He wants to be comfortable, the 15-year-old, going into his second car race of the season. His father, Martin, a very talented sports car racer in his own right, so certainly learning from the family trade. Josh Berry, a very talented racing driver, didn't get the opportunity really to showcase that yesterday. Was so easy to go off the road in turn 3 yesterday. So hopefully now he'll have a proper chance to showcase his ability. So you walk our way through the grid once again from back to front, and the reverse grid race. The top 4 are flip reversed. We've got 25 minutes on the clock, and it'll be 25 minutes plus 1 lap. This man has got all the pressure in the world, the Chinese talent, Wang Shongwei, who will be starting from pole position for the Origin Motorsport team, alongside the young Philippine star Inigo Anton. He'll be there on 2nd position of the grid, alongside the Everts GP pair of the Australian Seth Gilmore and the Vietnamese Alex Sawyer. Then China's Cheng Meng alongside another Vietnamese driver, Ben Nguyen. Then the Indian Rishon Rajiv, the American Thomas Yuli, and the Singaporean Josh Berry. A truly international grid of drivers. There's going to be 2 Thai drivers that will join the grid at the second round of the championship at Buradam, namely Warapong Aimuchan and Ayrton Asdathorn, who will come into the grid. It's going to be really exciting to see what they can do when they join in, especially considering their karting prowess. 2 very talented racing drivers in various different competitions of karting, both here in Asia and in the international brigade as well. So it'll be really exciting to see how everybody is getting on with things. A little bit of testing for those 2 drivers. They were not able to attend the first round of the championship here in Malaysia, but they will be back in time for round 2 at Buradam, round 3 at the Bangsine Grand Prix. What an opportunity that'll be, racing on home soil in such a prestigious event. In the first ever single-seater race, I think that'll be at the Bangsine Grand Prix. Prior to this, I think it's always been touring cars and GTs that have raced it at the Bangsine Grand Prix. So it'll be wonderful to see single-seater drivers get their first taste of that particular course. The 1-minute board is about to be raised here at Sepang, so the drivers will go around for their formation lap. Now, of course, once again, the cars will explore the circuit as they would do. This time, it's not going to be a safety car start like it was yesterday, but today it's going to be a normal start, which means that the drivers will work their way around the course, and then they will form up on the starting grid, the actual starting grid, rather than the South Paddock starting grid. This is just the dummy grid, if you like. Very much akin to the old days of the 1960s and 70s, when cars used to form up on a dummy grid and then put themselves into the actual starting grid. Sepang has accidentally repeated that tradition by having a South Paddock. So the competitors are going to make their way around on the formation lap. I noticed that some of the younger members of the paddock on the main start-finish straight are coming and having a look, because a lot of them want to be competing in F4 at some point, and this is something for them to lead up to. The F4 Southeast Asia Championship, certified by FIA here at Sepang. the home of Formula One in Malaysia from 1999 to 2017. Still the home of MotoGP here in the country, I do believe. The green flag flies, and the drivers make their way around on the formation lap. So the task is very simple now for the drivers on their formation lap. They've got to get around the course and keep the tyres up to temperature, get the brakes up to temperature as well. They want as much confidence as they possibly can heading into turn one. So the drivers will make their way around the course and they will warm up the tyres and brakes to the optimum temperature. They want as much confidence as they possibly can have into the first sector. So the F4 Southeast Asia drivers working their way along. Wang Xiongwei in pole position from Inigo Anton, and then the Evans GP pair. The Evans GP trio, I should say, because Cheng Meng is there in 5th position on the grid. Then the duo of Ben Ying and Rishon Rajiv for Black Arts. Thomas Yu Lee in his Evans GP car, not that it looks like one, because it's got a very different livery to his teammates. And then, of course, we have the battles raging further behind from the man who starts in 9th position on the starting grid, and that is Joshua Berry. So the contenders are gearing up, ready for an exciting show, and we are ready to see a very exciting second race of the weekend and second race of the season. This is round 1 of 5, with 2 visits to Kuala Lumpur coming later this year for round 4 and 5 of the championship. Budinam and Bangsine will be round 2 and round 3. But the drivers are ready for the next challenge of the F4 Southeast Asia Championship, the first reverse grid race of the season, with the top 4 finishers from yesterday reversed. And that means that we'll have the Chinese driver Wang Xiongwei in pole position alongside Inigo Anton, then Seth Gilmore and Alex Sawyer on the second row of the grid for Evans GP. Cheng Meng and Ben Ying will be 5th and 6th of the grid. Then Rishon Rajiv for Black Arts Racing and Thomas Yu Lee of Evans GP. And 9th on the starting grid will be Joshua Berry, the Singaporean for Black Arts Racing. So the competitors are ready for another exciting duel around the course here in Sepang. This is a very complex and very dynamic race circuit. You can see there the patch of cement dust that is there to get rid of the oil that was laid down by the Porsche in the earlier race. That's going to be an interesting obstacle for the drivers to avoid in the first race. There's a lot of oil that went down, to be fair. A proper split of an oil line. There was a lot of smoke when that Porsche pulled off earlier on. It was rather beautiful as well, rather sad that it had to come to an end like that. However, the race is about to get under starters' orders here in the F4 Southeast Asia Championship, certified by FIA. First round of the championship, second race of the weekend. Yesterday's race taken by Alex Sawyer, the Vietnamese driver, in front of Seth Gilmore of Australia and Inigo Anton of the Philippines. Man who finished 4th position in yesterday's race, Wang Xiongwei of China, is now the man who will start from pole position. He's going to have a really interesting battle from the outset as the cars will get away from the starting grid here in front of the main grandstands to form the Formula One grid. They pass the South Paddock, they pass their mechanics, and that's where they'll retreat to at the end of the race, of course. But they will form up on the main starting grid here at Sepang. And it's a bit of a momentous moment for me as well as a commentator, because this will be the very first time that I will call a standing start at the Sepang circuit, because yesterday we started behind the safety car. I was here 2 months ago for the Motul 12 Hours of Sepang, but that was, of course, a rolling start. So now we're going to get to see a proper racing start. I've had all 3 in the last 3 adventures at Sepang. So now we'll get to see what happens when Wang Xiongwei launches away from the grid on the front row with Inigo Anton alongside, then Seth Gilmore and Alex Sawyer from Cheng Meng and Ben Ying, Rishon Rajiv, Thomas Yu Lee and Joshua Berry as the cars form up on the main starting grid now. It's going to be an interesting charge forward from the top 4 drivers. How quickly are they going to settle themselves back into the rhythm of yesterday? Will they settle themselves back into the same rhythm as yesterday? Or is this going to be a brand new day with a brand new challenge? We are about to find out. The cars are lining up in position as Seth Gilmore and Alex Sawyer take up their place on the second row of the grid. Row 3 forms up, row 4 forms up, and now the final man, Joshua Berry, takes his position. We're just waiting for the command at the back of the grid. The green flag flies. The lights will come on the starting grid in front of me, and when they go out for the second time this weekend, we'll be racing in the F4 Southeast Asia Championship 2025. Let's race at Sepang! And it's a good start from Wong Sheng-wei, but he's got a lot of wheel spin, and Inigo Anton's going to get alongside him to the left side. And this could be a great drag race between the two of them now, down to the first turn. Inigo Anton is going to hold the lead into turn one, but it looks like Wong Sheng-wei is going to have pressure from Seth Gilmore down to the inside line. He's going to try and make his bid on the inside. He's had to bail out of the move, and I think he's got damage to the front wing. But Inigo Anton, round the outside, has taken the lead in the very first lap of this race. Great start from the Philippines, as Seth Gilmore now gets his run on Wong Sheng-wei through turn two, hits the power, and has got ahead, and so too has Alex Sawyer, as Wong Sheng-wei is struggling. Round the outside comes the hard-charging Black Arts Racing Machine car, trying to make out if that is Ben Yuing or if that's Richon Rajiv. It's Ben Yuing, so a great start from the Vietnamese driver, up in a fourth position. Thomas Yu Lee has worked his way in front as well. I think Wong Sheng-wei's got a problem with his car, to be honest, because he's limping. He's limping back to the pits, and this is not a good start to the race then for the Origin driver. Turn one, I think there might have been some contact. I'm not sure whether it was with Seth Gilmore or whether it was with somebody else, but Wong Sheng-wei is limping. This is a great start for Inigo Anton, but he's already got pressure from the hard-charging Evans GP car. Now, is that Seth Gilmore or is that Alex Sawyer? Need to double-check who is in second position. I think it is Alex Sawyer. He managed to find his way ahead of his teammate Seth Gilmore, and he's already taking on the Philippines youngster Inigo Anton. What a great start this was, though, from Ben Yuing, who has managed to work his way forward as well into fourth position. Thomas Yu Lee up into P5, then it's Josh Berry P6, seventh is Richon Rajiv. Cheng Meng has had a difficult start in the Evans GP car, and it looks as though Wong Sheng-wei is dropping all the way to the back of the field, so a big disaster then for the Chinese driver, who was on pole position. But up front, it is Inigo Anton in the Black Arts car. Now, he's got to try and hold off the race one winner yesterday, Alex Sawyer, who is already up in the second place, the young man from Vietnam, working his way further forward. Down the main straight, they will go the next time by. They go past the South Paddock, and Alex Sawyer is already hungry for a move on Inigo Anton, but he needs to be patient. This is a 25-minute race, and we've still got 23 minutes of it to go. You don't need to go ugly early and make the charge on lap one or lap two. You've got to know that you've got a good car underneath you and then make the move when you're ready to. So at the moment, Inigo Anton leads the race, but Alex Sawyer has got a great run out of the final turn. He's going to go down the straight and make his push to try and get into the lead. He's going to go left side of Inigo Anton, because that's where he's placed him, but he's able to drive right round the outside of the young man from the Philippines. He drifts wide out of the turn, Inigo Anton gets back alongside, but Alex Sawyer tidies it up on the exit. Into the lead goes the young man from Vietnam. Alex Sawyer hits the front in the Evans GP. Good fight from Inigo Anton, but he just had so much speed coming off the final turn, and the confidence that came with it for Alex Sawyer definitely gave him the momentum. But Inigo Anton wants to fight back. Sawyer is trying to defend the position as they go up towards turn four. Inigo Anton now goes slow in and fast out and gets level. They're going to go side by side up towards five. Inigo Anton trying to hold the car right round the outside of Alex Sawyer. He's got confidence. He's going to go for it onto the inside of turn six. And Inigo Anton, he's going to take back the lead from Alex Sawyer. Great racing between the two. They're still side by side as Sawyer now cuts back around the outside of him. Great racing. An amazing duel in the first race of the day. The second race of the weekend. And Inigo Anton is not going to settle for second position. He wants to attack. Well, Alex Sawyer has now got the confidence to run towards turn 9. No problems at all as he runs his way through there. So Alex Sawyer has hit the front, and Inigo Anton in second, and Seth Gilmore chasing them in third position in the hope that he can move his way back up the order again as well. And Inigo Anton, here's the move again from Alex Sawyer. He dives right out to the far side, carries the speed, and Inigo Anton has no response, holds it round the outside, goes a little bit deep, I have to say. But because it's a long trajectory around that first hairpin, he's able to tidy it up on the exit. But Inigo Anton, this is massive bravery from the Filipino. Look at this, round the far side, carries it round the outside of turn 5. If we could give out a gold medal for bravery, we'd give it to the young man from the Philippines. Into turn 6, holds the inside line. But it's actually slightly quicker around the outside, and Alex Sawyer was able to guide his car through. But give that man a pat on the back. Inigo Anton definitely able to wrestle with the race leader Alex Sawyer. Just hasn't got the confidence yet. As a rookie, he's still learning the car. Now he's got Seth Gilmore to try and defend from. As behind them, we go side by side for fourth position. These are the teammates of the Black Arts Racing team. This is Richon Rajiv versus Ben Yuing. Now, Richon Rajiv has worked his way ahead of Thomas Yu Lee, ahead of Josh Berry. Now he's going to go side by side with his teammate to try and get up into fourth position around the outside. And that's confidence from Richon Rajiv, but Ben Yuing is allowed to run race with his teammate. They almost bang wheels, and the Indian gets through, but he slides through the apex of turn 2, so he may lose the momentum going up the hill. We need to keep an eye on the background because Ben Yue might be able to get himself back into fourth position here, and they're side by side. So Ben Yue is trying to make the move to get back through on Rishon Rajiv. He's on the wrong side of the circuit to finish off the move, but if Rajiv overcooks it, then Ben Yue is going to be right there to take it. But for the moment, Rishon Rajiv has finished off the move, and Josh Berry, by the way, is dueling away with Thomas Yue Lee, and he's got ahead. And there is Wang Shengwei back in the pits. Well, we thought he had some problems going into this race, and I'm afraid the team from Origin are going to wheel Wang Shengwei back into the garage. What a shame. The man who started from pole position, the Chinese ace, no longer going to be in this race. Now, there is an incident involving 33 and 12 that has been noted. That is a turn 5 incident. Now, that is between Alex Sawyer and Inigo Anton. Well, what incident was there at turn 5 that needs to be noted by the officials? They went side by side through turn 5. I didn't see any contact that was made by them. So, an interesting one there. I'm not quite sure what they're noting, but I didn't see any contact between the two drivers, but it's on Race Control's notice board anyway. I didn't see any contact between the two of them, and I think Inigo Anton was perfectly within his rights to go wheel-to-wheel there with his rival. As we look at Rishon Rajiv, the Indian driver, who's now moved into fourth position. There he is in the background, ahead of Ben Yue, who's done a fantastic job in his second race as an F4 driver. And look, there's a little bit of damage there to Seth Gilmore's front wing. Now, that has come courtesy of the little love tap that he got from Wang Shengwei on the first lap. Look, that wing is actually dragging on the floor a little bit. Now, oh, a bit of a run wide from Inigo Anton. He does not need that. That's definitely cost him. And so now Seth Gilmore is going to have a run on him down towards turn 1. So we've got Inigo Anton having made a mistake over the curbs. Seth Gilmore's front wing is screaming at him to go easy on the car, but Seth Gilmore doesn't go easy. He only knows 2 speeds, flat out or stationary. To the inside line, he'll go slow in, fast out. Inigo Anton defending through turn 2. Let's have a look at this again. This is what happens when you get slightly crossed up in the final turn. Look, a bit of a run wide from Inigo Anton, and then bounce, 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 like you're on cobbles on a skateboard. It is not pleasant at all. And now Seth Gilmore has got a chance to go after Inigo Anton as the Black Arts team watch on in the garage. Is Seth Gilmore going to have a chance here around the outside? Oh, well defended by Inigo Anton. Seth Gilmore has to bail out of the throttle. Now he's got the inside line for turn 5. But he's not got the momentum. Inigo Anton has got that. Great dueling between the young man from the Philippines and the young man from Australia. Excellent racecraft between these two. So Inigo Anton able to hold the position for the moment in front of Seth Gilmore. Great racing between these two. A lot of cement dust being kicked up by Alex Sawyer as he makes his way down towards turn 9. Driver's got a little bit more confidence to run on the racing line now that they've run over that patch of oil, which is, of course, now dried out by the cement dust. Still a little bit slippery at that part of the course. There is Josh Berry racing wheel-to-wheel with the Chinese driver, Cheng Meng. Good performance from them so far. Thomas Yue Lee is right there close to them as well. So even though we haven't got many cars on the grid, they're still racing very cleanly and very evenly together to give us a proper show. We've said it time and time again, in motorsport, you don't need many cars to make a good race. You just need great talent and great determination from the competitors. The Black Arts team watching on in the garage, trying to find a little bit of speed from their drivers in the hope that Josh Berry's going to pick up the pace a little bit against Cheng Meng. Chinese driver, whoa, big mistake from Cheng Meng. That's going to ruin his entire run down the straight. Just takes a little bit too much curb there and then a little bit of grass and gravel as well. So that's going to put him more into the path of Thomas Yue Lee than it is into the path of Josh Berry. But Cheng Meng, used to sports cars, these single-seaters are a very different racing car. It's a bit like the difference between driving a truck and driving a lawnmower. Very different machines to go racing with. And they feel completely different. You think, well, it's a car, it's got a steering wheel, it's got 4 wheels, and it's got a brake pedal and a throttle pedal. Yeah, but it's very, very different. It's like the difference between speaking 2 different languages, like speaking Japanese compared to speaking Spanish. It couldn't be more different. So through the first hairpin, and then out through the left-hander, up the hill. This is the 33, Inigo Anton, now trying to pull away from Seth Gilmore. Look at the twitch of that front wing, though. He's got to keep that going all the way through the race. That's going to be a tricky job. Rishon Rajiv running in 4th place in front of Ben Yue, who's definitely improving and doing a fantastic job here in front of Josh Berry and Cheng Meng. Good battle between these two racers as well. Thomas Yue Lee is trying to stay with them at the moment. But Joshua Berry looking so much more confident now that the circuit is not as slippery as it was yesterday. This is so much better from the Singaporean. when the car feels good, when you've woken up having had a good night's sleep, when you feel confident, when you've learned the lessons, you can really make a good impact. And Josh Berry doing a great job here in front of a driver who's got a lot of experience in racing cars, Cheng Meng, the Chinese driver, who's done a lot of work over here in Southeast Asia in various different categories. But Cheng Meng is going to try and make his bid on the inside. Josh Berry's going to move across to cover the line and defend. He's got to get a good exit off the hairpin. Nicely done, Josh. Well done. Very well defended there from Cheng Meng. So Cheng Meng, the Chinese driver, is going to have another go at him. Does look as though Cheng Meng's got the faster right foot. But Josh Berry is having to learn on the job here, and this is not easy for the Singaporean. Race 2 definitely more exciting than race 1 already, from the front and from the midfield. And Josh Berry hanging on here in front of Cheng Meng. And it looks as though Wang Xiongwei, after having a pit stop, has gone back out on the circuit. So he is running almost a lap, almost 2 laps behind Alex Sawyer. So Alex Sawyer is going to lap him for a second time if he catches up to him. Here's Cheng Meng down on the inside of Josh Berry into the hairpin. Will he make the bid? He's certainly going to stick his nose to the inside line, but he runs wide. Josh Berry can get a faster run off the turn and get back in front. Careful when you cut across. Cheng Meng holds his foot down and manages to get in front of the Singaporean. So very close indeed between the two. They both made a little bit of a critical error there through the turn. And look, Cheng Meng is weaving, trying to get Josh Berry out of his line. That's a little bit too aggressive on the weave, if you ask me. So Josh Berry and the Black Arts team might want to raise that one with race control later. As Cheng Meng weaving several times down the main straight. And the rule is very clear. You're only really supposed to weave once. Here's the original move. Cheng Meng down the South Paddock straight. Makes his move to the inside line. Close enough, gets the move done. Josh Berry has to change his line, so he goes slow in, fast out. Meanwhile, Cheng Meng gets crossed up around the hairpin, but then he boots the throttle. That's a GT move from Cheng Meng, and Josh Berry is caught out on the exit. Cheng Meng almost right in the grass on the way towards turn 5 as he tries to get as far across to the right for a decent turn in for turn 5 as possible. Good racing between these two, it has to be said. Halfway through this second race of the weekend, and Cheng Meng has found his man and left him for dead in the battle for P6. Josh Berry still trying to stay with him as we look at Rishon Rajiv and Ben Yue. Now, this is interesting. We've got Seth Gilmore really struggling, and that's because the front wing is coming loose. So Rishon Rajiv has got ahead of him, and now it looks like Ben Yue is going to try the same move. So Seth Gilmore is desperately trying to keep the car going, but look at that front wing. It's almost off the hinge, and now Ben Yue makes his move on the inside of Seth Gilmore. And I think for the Australian, this could be game over. He's certainly going to need to retreat back to the pits. He's going to lose so much time. The Australian knows it. A little bit of a love tap with Wang Xiongwei, but I think he's going to be coming into the pits now. Good move from Ben Yue. Here it is again, as Yue goes to the right side of Seth Gilmore. That's where he places him. Gilmore's desperately trying to hold the inside line, but Ben Yue commits around the outside, then holds his nerve for the next apex. He drops in behind, then finishes the move, and there is Seth Gilmore limping into the pits. What a shame for the Australian. You can see the damage to his front wing after that little nudge from Wang Xiongwei into turn 1. And I'm afraid they're going to change the front wing, but it's going to give Seth Gilmore no pleasure at all, as he will drop to 8th position behind Josh Berry and Thomas Yu Lee. And that is not the way the Australian wanted things to go. So essentially now, Josh Berry moves up to P6, Thomas Yu Lee moves up to P7, Seth Gilmore goes back out, but he will still be ahead of, ironically enough, Wang Xiongwei. And that's it. That's all he's got, really, for the rest of this race now. 8th position, he's got 11 minutes. Unless there's a safety car, Seth Gilmore's got no chance, really, of making that kind of progress, because he's going to be almost half a minute back. Black and white flag for the 17 of Cheng Meng for excessive weaving. I did think they were going to have a look at that. So Cheng Meng has been given a black and white warning flag for excessive weaving down the main straight. You can't do that too much on the defense. You can do it once, you can move across, but you can't excessively weave in the manner that Cheng Meng did, so he's been given a warning. Meanwhile, this man, Alex Sawyer, well, it's even better than yesterday. He won the race by 6 seconds yesterday. But with Seth Gilmore picking up damage to his front wing, Alex Sawyer, who's still got 10.5 minutes to go, by the way, is now 8 seconds clear of Inigo Anton in the Black Arts car. And for the Indian talent, Rishon Rajiv, this is a great comeback, as he now finds himself running in 3rd place in front of Ben Yue. What a great run from the Vietnamese driver, Ben Yue, who last week was racing a go-kart. This week, he's in an F4 and doing a fantastic job, looking at P4 for his 2nd ever car race. So Alex Sawyer just controlling the pace out front. No major issues for him, no concerns. And he can be very happy with the way things are going. In the background, that's Inigo Anton, who's not going to cause him too many headaches at the moment. But it's motorsport, so you never really know how it's going to go. Right, there's a pit lane infringement investigation that has been looked into for Wang Shengwei, but the race director has decided to take no further action on that one. So whatever it was, they've clearly decided that Wang Shengwei is okay to run without a penalty. He's down at the back of the field anyway, so he's currently nearly 2 laps behind Alex Sawyer, and Sawyer is not far away from lapping him a second time. There is Inigo Anton working his way through. So Inigo Anton going through into second position, then the other 2 Black Arts cars in third and fourth, Rishon Rajiv and Ben Yuing. Now this could be interesting for Ben Yuing because he's got a bit of pressure coming from the Evans GP driver Cheng Meng. So the Chinese ace is going to close up now on Ben Yuing. Having had a slow start to the race, he's finally got the hang of the car and he wants to try and take on the man in front of him. So Ben Yuing, the young man from Vietnam, is going to find this very difficult to hold off the attentions of Cheng Meng, the Chinese driver for Evans GP. This is going to be very much nightmare stuff as far as he's concerned. So there is Rishon Rajiv doing a great job in third position, the Indian making a good recovery after yesterday. And this man, Ben Yuing, well, he's got a lot of pressure coming in this race because now Cheng Meng is eating up the road in front of him. In the first sector alone, Cheng Meng did a 28.3 compared to Ben Yuing on a 28.7. So he's making 0.4 of a second up per sector, the way things are currently looking. So Ben Yuing is definitely going to have to go into defense mode. And against a driver as mature and as respected as Cheng Meng, this could be tricky for him to hold on to P4. Certainly the Vietnamese driver is going to be tested, properly tested, for the first time this season. He made a good run on Seth Gilmore when the Australian had damage to his car. But with Cheng Meng in the Evans GP, who seems to be going quicker than him, this is going to be fascinating stuff. But Ben Yuing does pick up the pace in the second sector and sets the best second sector of his race, 28.945. That's comparable to Inigo Anton. So very good pace then again from Ben Yuing, who's definitely having to learn by doing here. Cheng Meng, Chinese driver for Evans GP. Oh, he's got that a little bit wrong though. A little bit too much curb there for Cheng Meng. You don't want to run the curb too much here because you lose 1/10 to 2/10 of a second every time you run that curb a little bit far wide. Got to remember as well that those little divots in the curb, they hold water. So if it does rain over the course of the circuit, that water, if it doesn't evaporate quickly, that gathers in the curb. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. Alex Sawyer passes my position in the pits. I do believe that Wang Shengwei has actually come back into the pits and retired, so he's not gone any further. Right, the turn 5 incident involving 12 and 24. That is Alex Sawyer and Seth Gilmore. That's going to be investigated after the race. Now that's interesting. I'm not entirely sure what happened there between Alex Sawyer and Seth Gilmore. I'm not sure our cameras picked it up. They may be referring to the first lap. Oh no, sorry, turn 5 incident between 12 and 33, that's Inigo Anton, and then it changes back to 12 and 24, so that's the turn 1 incident. Okay, so we've got a 12 and 33 incident between Alex Sawyer and Inigo Anton. That's going to be investigated after the race, as there is Wang Shengwei's car now empty. Looks like the Chinese driver's decided, I've had enough of this, and parked the car, having originally started it from pole position. Very unfortunate to see the Origin driver out of the race. He'll be there in the garage. But we've got 2 incidents now. 2 incidents that are under investigation, and both of them involve Alex Sawyer. We've got the turn 1 incident involving 12 and 24. That's Alex Sawyer and Seth Gilmore. And we've got a turn 5 incident between 12 and 33. That's Alex Sawyer and Inigo Anton. And both of those incidents will be investigated after the race. Now, that's 2 black marks then against Alex Sawyer's name that the race officials want to investigate. So a fascinating situation. We're going to look at a replay here of Thomas Yu Lee. That's a big lock-up. Oh, that left front tyre is going to look like a 50p piece if he's not careful. You do not want to have too many flat spots on your tyres around this place in particular, because it can be really punishing. There is Wang Shengwei from pole position to spectator down in the garage, watching the rest of the race. Not really where he wanted to be in the slightest. So 2 incidents involving this man, Alex Sawyer, are going to be investigated after the race, neither of which we really saw, because there's one involving his teammate, Seth Gilmore, and one involving Inigo Anton at various points on the course. But I didn't really see anything that really warrants an investigation. Mind you, I'm not race control. So Alex Sawyer down to turn 1, leading the race now by over 11 seconds to Inigo Anton. Make that 12 seconds now Still wrestling with the car a little bit through the first corner as team principal Josh Evans watches on along with the mechanics. So good performance so far from Alex Sawyer, but it looks as though he's got 2 investigations to speak to race control about later. Still leading for the moment. If he gets a 10-second penalty, well, it doesn't matter because he's now 12 seconds clear of Inigo Anton. This is perfect for Alex Sawyer. Rishon Rajiv is another 12 seconds back in 3rd position. Then Ben Yue is going to race with Cheng Meng. That's the real battle now. So the real race that we need to keep an eye on here is 37 versus 17. Ben Yue versus Cheng Meng. That's going to be the next big race battle. Another sub 2 minute 10 second lap time in race trim. Here we go. Right, this is going to be Ben Yue and Cheng Meng racing for position with 4 minutes to go. So Cheng Meng has caught up to Ben Yue, but the Vietnamese driver is doing the best he can to try and defend. Sector 1, 28.8 for Yue, 28.7 for Cheng. So good performances so far between these two. They've certainly held their nerves in the first couple of laps of combat. But the Black Arts Racing driver Ben Yue and the Evans GP driver Cheng Meng. Vietnam versus China. They're going to go racing wheel to wheel any moment now because Cheng Meng has definitely caught up to his opponent. There's nothing to choose between them in Sector 2 though. 29.081 for Yue, 29.086 for Cheng Meng. So there's nothing in it at all. Up through the hairpin at turn 9, up the hill again to 10. And this is where you've really got to hold your nerve. This is a very tricky course and a very tricky circuit to get right, the Sepang International Circuit. So now we'll have to see if Cheng Meng can really make his moves here on Ben Yue. The Vietnamese driver only 7/10 of a second ahead of Cheng Meng at the finish line the last lap around. Past my position goes Alex Sawyer. That tells you the kind of lead he's got over the rest of the pack. And he goes into lap number 11 out on the course. No safety car periods this time, which is exactly what we were hoping for. So as they come across the line this time, it's going to be 2nd place for Inigo Anton. He's now 14 seconds back from the race leader, Alex Sawyer. It's getting very close to a 15-second lead now. But still, Cheng Meng fancies his chances here on Ben Yue. Vietnamese driver, 4th position. Down the straight, can he hold it in the last couple of laps of racing? I think they've got 3 laps to go. Looking at the time we've got left, 2.5 minutes on the clock. Alex Sawyer went through about 30 seconds ago. So I would suspect that we've got 3 laps to go, including this one. Into turn 1. Yue is still doing a good job to hold on to P4. But Cheng Meng is running very tight to him as they run down the hill. This is where Josh Berry and Rishon Rajiv lost the car yesterday in greasy conditions. Nobody's spinning off there today by the look of it. There is Rishon Rajiv running in a very solid 3rd place. But this is up for grabs now for Cheng Meng. He knows he can get into 4th place. He can't get a podium, but he can get P4. And he knows that he's got the young whippersnapper from Vietnam, Ben Yue, in front of him. And he wants to get ahead. Through turn 5, left. Balance the power. Get the turn in right, through turn 6, right. Try not to get on the curbs. Balance the car as you come through. Cheng Meng slightly wide as he gets himself back to the racing line. Then through the right-hander for the 1st apex. Through the right-hander for the 2nd apex. Carry as much speed as you dare through that complex. You can carry a lot in these cars, but they're quite light. So the back end does want to step out and overtake the front. Out of the braking zone for 9. Try and stay off the cement dust from the oil patch earlier if you can. Turn into the left hand, up the crest, back through to the right-hander at turn 10. Then get on the brakes at the right time for 11, but coax as much speed out of the car as you can to come through. Alex Sawyer is about to pass my position on the main straight once again as he goes into what will be the penultimate lap of the F4 Southeast Asia Championships, 2nd race of the weekend in the 1st round of the season. There goes Alex Sawyer, past my position. No worries at all for him. But Ben Yue has got all sorts of worries. As Cheng Meng goes very wide. Big problem for Cheng Meng. So what happened there to the Chinese driver? Did he just mess up, or has there got a problem with the car? Well, Cheng Meng, any chance now of getting into 4th position is severely compromised by the Chinese driver. Not entirely sure what happened there, but it's certainly done enough to give the Vietnamese driver, Ben Yue, a little bit of breath. He doesn't have to worry too much about Cheng Meng. Just focus on your own driving now. Keep pushing, keep focusing. Don't worry about Cheng Meng, just go forwards. I'm not sure Cheng Meng is going to have the right kind of pace to make that happen. He lost over 1.5 seconds in that final sector alone. There is Alex Sawyer leading the race. A very strong race indeed. So Alex Sawyer leading the race with 3 seconds to go. 2, 1, time is up. So he's now on the penultimate lap. He will race back to the line, cross it, and then have one more racing lap to go. But Alex Sawyer has absolutely destroyed the competition here. So full of confidence, so full of speed. Even if he gets a 10-second penalty, he will have plenty of time over his opposition. This is very reminiscent of an F4 UAE race several years ago involving the Emirati Hamda Al-Kubaisi, fantastic young lady racer, when she got a jump start penalty, then she got a track limits penalty, so she had to pull out 15 seconds to guarantee that she would get a race victory out of it. And you know what? She did that as well at the Yas Marina circuit. I still think a lot of people don't really rate that ride in the way that they should have done. It was an exceptional drive, in my opinion, and this is another exceptional drive, as even Alex Sawyer getting slightly crossed up going into the penultimate turn, but he's still able to control where the car goes. So very nicely handled indeed here from Alex Sawyer. Into the final hairpin and pushing out down the straight, and so Alex Sawyer is going to take the finish line to go into the last lap. There is the last lap board. So Alex Sawyer has just got one more tour of the Sepang International Circuit, which he is pretty much making his own playground here this weekend. There is Inigo Anton running a very smooth second place. He'll be delighted with that. Great progress made by the young man from the Philippines. He really showed his hand today in the duel between Alex Sawyer. Okay, he's dropped over 16 seconds back from his opponent, but you know what? He has really shown that he is here to race. Right, here is third place Rishon Rajiv, and in the background we've got Ben Yuing having lost a bit of time to Cheng Meng once again. So we could have a last lap duel for fourth position after all. There's the last lap board. In the background, we've got Ben Yuing and Cheng Meng. Now, these two are going to go to war now. Fourth position is up for grabs with 1 lap to go. Ben, chill out. Don't overdrive the car here. Cheng Meng is going to be all over you, but all you've got to do is hug the racing line, place the car where it needs to go. You don't need to overdrive the car here. Into the first hairpin, and he's wrestling with the wheel. But fortunately for him, so too is Cheng Meng. So no issues into turn 1, 2, or 3 for Ben Yuing. There's Rishon Rajiv, third position. We look further back and we're going to see this battle for fourth position. So still Ben Yuing in front of Cheng Meng. They will race to the line, but it's going to be a tough one to see who hangs on to this. Seth Gilmore has almost caught up to Thomas Yu Lee, but the gap is 10 seconds, so he's not going to get out of 8th place, because Thomas Yu Lee is not going to be 10 seconds a lap slower. Admittedly, he is about 4.5 seconds a lap slower, but that's not 10, is it? So Cheng Meng through turn 6, closing up to 7 and 8. If he gets these two corners right, he may get a slingshot move into turn 9, but here is Alex Sawyer at the penultimate turn. This has been a dominant race for the Vietnamese driver. Yesterday was good, today is even better. Despite starting from 4th position on the reverse grid, Alex Sawyer, the young man from Vietnam, has made this second race of the weekend his own and is threatening to turn this into a hat-trick of victories over the weekend. The young man is just unstoppable here at Sepang, and the Evans GP youngster comes out of the final turn, charges down towards the line, and the checkered flag is in the air for Alex Sawyer. The young man from Vietnam has done it again. Brilliant race and a fantastic commanding drive for Alex Sawyer. The team is happy with that. Excellent work from Alex Sawyer. Second place for Inigo Anton. What a drive from the young man from the Philippines. He really brought out his boxing gloves when he needed to. Excellent work from the young man from the Philippines. Great stuff. Great drive from Inigo Anton. Third place for Rishon Rajiv. That'll be a great comeback. One last chance for Cheng Meng. Don't get too overexerted here, Ben. Just take it nice through the final hairpin, and that's exactly what he's done. Great job. Rishon Rajiv will be third. Ben Yuing, what a great race in 4th position, and he's allowed to punch his fist in the air. Well done, Ben. Great racing. When was the last time you had 2 drivers from Vietnam in the top 4 of a motor race on FIA certification? I can't remember. Great job. 5th place for Cheng Meng. 6th place for Joshua Berry. Good recovery from the Singaporean. And this man with his dual-tone livery, Thomas Yu Lee, is going to come home 7th. 5 seconds or so ahead of Seth Gilmore. Good recovery, but I'm afraid he was not able to make up any position, so Seth Gilmore limps home to 8th place. Wong Chong Wei, the pole sitter, retiring after damage sustained on the first lap. And that's it. Alex Sawyer taking the victory then in front of Inigo Anton and Rishon Rajiv. We've got a new face on the podium compared to yesterday, but the same man is on the top spot. Alex Sawyer from Vietnam, unstoppable. And your race winner for Vietnam, Alex Sawyer! Now it is my honour to introduce our guest, Mrs. Paula Poir, the Head of Strategy and Communication at Sepang International Circuit, who will present the trophies to our drivers in the top three. Starting in third position for India and Black Arts Racing, Vishal Rajiv! In second place for the Philippines and Black Arts Racing, Inigo Anton! Now to our race winner for Vietnam and Evans GP, Alex Sawyer! And last but by no means least to our Rookie Cup winner, also on the podium again, Inigo Anton! A fantastic performance from our drivers. We'll get all three of them together on the top step of the podium for the team photograph. All three drivers putting themselves in a very good position. First podium of the weekend for Vishaan Rajiv. Best result of the weekend for Inigo Anton. And a double victory for the man on the top step of the podium for Vietnam, Alex Sawyer. Great performance. We'll get all three drivers together on the top step of the podium. Squeeze up together on the top spot, gentlemen. I think we're going to have the celebration backstage. I think they're going to have a little bit of time getting busy on the podium with the Vizzy. Let's celebrate in style. Here is the flag as our drivers will celebrate here in the F4 Southeast Asia Championship. Great performance from the three drivers on the podium. There'll be more for them to do in the third race of the weekend later this afternoon. But congratulations to Alex Sawyer. Double victory in Japan. Can he make it 3 out of 3 in this afternoon's race? Tune in later to find out.
We're all good? Okay. Thank you.